evening. I can project, but not that well. Good evening, and welcome to the Ford Hall Forum at Suffolk University's second program of our spring season. My name is Dominic Gaiano. I'm the president of the Ford Hall Forum Board of Directors. And on behalf of the Forum, I'm pleased to welcome you tonight for tonight's feature speaker, an old boss of mine, Governor Mitt Romney, who will discuss his book entitled No Apology, The Case for America's Greatness. And he'll be joined by moderator Jeff Jacoby, a fellow Ford Hall board member, who we'll introduce in a bit. As many of you know, the Ford Hall Forum is the nation's oldest continually operating free public lecture series. For the past 102 years, the Forum has brought to Boston the most intriguing and thought-provoking public figures of the day, and tonight is certainly no exception. As an assembly of active and thoughtful people in our community, the Forum provides a platform for individuals to offer new and different perspectives on the world in which we all live. The Forum has, for its entire life, been dedicated to the promotion and protection of the First Amendment, particularly freedom of speech, recognizing that a democracy can only work if its citizens are fully informed about current issues and are able to participate in an open public dialogue. The work of the Forum is critical to the success of our nation. Some of our best-known speakers include Margaret Sanger, Eleanor Roosevelt, Robert Frost, Martin Luther King, Henry Kissinger, and Ayn Rand, who in her later years restricted her public appearances to one annual spring event here at the Ford Hall Forum. Many of her followers actually came to call that event the Objectivist Easter because it was always in the spring. The Ford Hall Forum can only continue to offer a program like this with the support of corporate and foundation funders and individuals like all of you in the room. I would like to thank those corporate sponsors and foundation partners and you, the individual members and donors, who continue to support the work of the Forum. I would encourage each of you to consider a membership, materials for which can be found in the front entrance, or you can check us out online at www.fordhallforum.org. A special note of thanks goes to the Boston Public Library, who is our host for this evening's presentation. The staff and the leadership here at the library have gone above and beyond and are instrumental in making this whole event successful tonight. Before we do get on with the program and before I introduce Jeff, I do want to acknowledge two people in the room. For those of you who are regulars at the Ford Hall Forum, you've seen a face here for the past 4 years. Alex Minier, her former executive director. Alex just left us for a nice job in the private sector, but Alex has been so instrumental in the success of this forum and bringing out crowds like you and bringing in speakers like Governor Romney. So Alex, where are you? In the back, still working. Thank you, Alex, for all your dedication to the forum. I would also like to acknowledge, just this week, the forum has picked a new executive director. She is here tonight. You'll get to know her over the next many years, hopefully, as well. Jennifer Bernardi. Jennifer's got a great background in the nonprofit world, and we look very forward to welcoming her to the Ford Hall Forum. So now for tonight's discussion. I'd like to start by introducing the moderator, Jeff Jacoby. I will go over the program very quickly. There will be a presentation where the governor will speak for a bit. Jeff will ask some questions, and then, as with every Ford Hall Forum event, the mics are open to you, the public. You will line up. There's 2 microphones up front here. I ask that you be brief and have a question, and we will try to move it along as quickly as possible. As you can see, we have a full house, and we want to make sure everybody that wants to ask a question can within the time that we have. Jeff Jacoby is an award-winning columnist for the Boston Globe. Seeking a conservative voice to balance its famously liberal roster of commentators, the Globe hired in 1994 Jeff away from the Boston Herald, where he was the chief editorial writer since 1987. Soon after his debut as a columnist, the Boston Phoenix dubbed his twice-weekly essays a must-read, describing him as the region's preeminent spokesman for conservative nation. A native of Cleveland, Jeff Jacoby graduated with honors from George Washington University in 1979 and Boston University Law School in 1983. In 1999, he became the first recipient of the Brindell Prize, a $10,000 award for excellence in opinion journalism. In 2004, he received the Thomas Paine Award of the Institute of Justice, an award presented to journalists who dedicate the work of preservation to the preservation and championing of individual liberty. I'm pleased to turn over the microphone to our moderator tonight, Jeff Jacoby.
Dominic, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very good to see all of you here. This is, I think, Dominic, now the fifth or perhaps the sixth Fort Hall Forum program that I've moderated. Alex can attest, each time that I've moderated, the audience has gotten bigger and bigger, so I assume that you're all here tonight because of me. I'd like to thank you for that. It's a great boost to my self-confidence. I do have to add a word of my own personal word of thanks to Alex Manier for all the tremendous work that he's done for the forum. Those of you who are regulars, who have been to our programs, not only have seen Alex in the audience, but you also owe the experience of these forums and the programs and what they've meant to you, owe so much of it to what Alex has done for us. In addition to being dogged and hardworking, he's also a scholar, a gentleman, and an extremely nice guy. The Fort Hall Forum feels like it can't possibly be the same without him, but I look forward to working just as well with our incoming executive director. And let me also add a word of thanks to the Boston Public Library for making the room available for hosting tonight's program. Every time the library makes itself available, the program is invariably raved about afterward. Before we go any further, if you haven't already done so, please can I ask those of you who have got cell phones or Blackberries or anything else that makes noises or beeps or glows in the dark to please silence them. It's something of a cliche to say that a speaker needs no introduction, but honestly, if you can't say that about Mitt Romney in Boston, Massachusetts, I don't know whom you could say it about anywhere. As you all know, Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts from 2003 to 2007. He entered politics after a brilliant career in business, first as a management consultant at Bain & Company, and then as a co-founder of Bain Capital, a private equity firm. He ran unsuccessfully for the U.S. Senate against Ted Kennedy in 1994, and of course he was a candidate for the Republican presidential nomination in 2008. In 2002, he took over the deeply troubled Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, turned the endeavor around, and has been very widely praised for transforming those games into a great success. And I propose to omit everything else in Governor Romney's long biography, except to note, because I know that if I were in his shoes, I wouldn't forgive him if he omitted this about me, except to note that he and his wife, Ann, are the parents of 5 sons and, at last count, 14 grandchildren. Governor Romney's book, his latest book, is titled No Apology, The Case for American Greatness. For the first half of our program this evening, I'm going to be talking with Governor Romney about the book and about the ideas and some of the themes that he develops in it. In the second half of our program, as we always do at the Fort Hall Forum, we will open the floor up for questions from the audience. As Dominic mentioned, there are microphones at the foot of each of these 2 staircases. When the time comes, please, those of you who are interested in asking questions, just line up behind the mics and we'll take it from there. But to begin our program, let me sit down in the comfortable chair and get our conversation underway. Well, Governor, welcome. Good evening.
Thank you. Good to be back. It's good to be home. Thank you.
Everybody deserves at least one, the proverbial softball. Even Massachusetts politicians and national politicians. So to give you the one easy question that you're going to get all evening, you've got all kinds of things you could be doing. 5 kids, 14 grandchildren, presumably lots and lots of ways to keep yourself busy. Why this book, why this topic, and why write it now?
Actually, the idea for the book flows from an experience I had a long time ago. I served my church on a mission in France in the late 1960s. And when I was there was a publisher, business person that wrote a book called The American Challenge. And the book got extraordinary visibility in France and then across Europe and actually here in the U.S. as well. He basically said, look, France is on a course and Europe is on a course to become a second-tier nation. He said the United States is growing so quickly and is so technologically advanced that if France and Europe don't collectively get their act together, they'll be proverbial backwaters.